Is this the clicker? Oh, okay.
Clicker's right there.
Hey everyone, wonderful afternoon. Before I start, can I just get a feeling, temperature for the room? Who of you is actually involved in cryptocurrencies, either with your company or private investor? Just a couple of you. Wow, okay. And everyone else? Interested in cryptocurrencies? For those that are not, okay. Who of you is here and you see yourself more from the traditional finance side? Can I see that? No one dares to raise their hand, yeah, with ME2020. Okay, and who sees themselves more from the fintech side, the newer kind of side? And everyone else? Okay. Okay, let's, can I just ask also, who of you knows about the company that I co-founded 3 years ago, 10x? Can I see a bit of a show of hands? Okay. Okay, then just a quick intro. We started 10x 3 years ago in Singapore. We have now 70 employees working there. We actually, the product we're working on right now is a very different one. It's an app that you can download. It's called 10x. You can order a card through there, a debit card, that you can then use to spend cryptocurrencies just like you would use your regular credit card. I have a totally different background. I come out of medicine. I was a medical doctor. I heard the very first time about cryptocurrencies in 2011 from a patient of mine. But this patient made it sound so scammy in 2011 that I didn't understand what this concept was. And it took 3 years later in 2011 when I learned about this concept of a blockchain. And I understood that this blockchain would be a breakthrough thing in medicine for patient data. Patient data is something we hear about all the time. In 2014, this was so early, and I tried to start something in this field, but I couldn't. It was just so early. And so in 2015, I met two other co-founders, Toby and Paul, and together we got actually in a different field, which is finance. And we thought, okay, cryptocurrencies, what's the main problem to solve? The main problem to solve is and was how to make these cryptocurrencies actually usable. Now, this is a very short-term kind of goal because we believe that using traditional rails, in this case, credit card companies, is actually going to probably go extinct, especially when we have things like the World Economic Forum predicting that 10% of all the assets in the world will be stored on blockchains. And that does not include tokenization. So this does not include that, I don't know, stocks might be represented, gold might be represented. These are actually new tokens. This is new kind of value that gets created on these. So for us, what we actually are looking forward to is, what could this world, that the World Economic Forum, some of the smartest people in the world, what could this world look like? And we do not believe that blockchains will be extinct, that there's another technology than blockchain. Many people hear about the Tangle from IOTA, many people hear about Hashgraph and think, are these the blockchain killers? We personally do not believe this. And obviously this is a belief, and the reason we do is for some very simple facts. And that is that fact, what is the problem that a blockchain is solving for? It's a very interesting question that very few people ask. What is the problem something is solving for? Most people always tell you what they do. It's what their company does. What does a solution do? They never talk about what problem is it that they're actually solving. And is this a relevant problem to solve for? How many other competitors are there that solve for the same problem? So what's blockchain solving for? Blockchain is one of the most complex, most ineffective structures. It's extremely expensive. It's slow. But it does one thing really, really well. It decentralizes. It takes away a central authority that has the right to censor, the right to give and to take. And it puts the power into all its participants. And that is the only problem that a blockchain actually solves really, really well. All the other solutions that come afterwards try to solve for the downsides that a blockchain has, many times forgetting what was the original problem to solve for. So we believe that blockchains as a foundation will be the building blocks. But then we heard we have this problem of probably millions of blockchains being out there. And this is a very interesting question. How will these blockchains communicate with each other? And I'm particularly not mentioning cryptocurrencies right now because cryptocurrencies for us, even though that's the field 10x is associated with, is probably going to be a very, very small field in the entire realm of blockchains that are there. We have smart contracts, we have identification, we have all kinds of like transparency tools that blockchains are really great to do. And so the question is, how will these things communicate? How will an identification blockchain communicate with a real estate blockchain that you just bought a house? How will this work? Well, we actually have a system already that had to solve for something similar, and you can see this on the right side. That's the internet. The internet did nothing else than connect intranets with different purposes, all different kinds of things, and connected these intranets to one large network with different rules, different kind of building blocks. And we envision that something similar will come into the system of blockchains. The reason we call this system Comet is because we believe that's going to be a cryptographically secure network that's off-chain, so you can go off the chains. It's multi-asset, it's instant, and it's a transaction network, Comet. And how this network looks like is something I would love to talk about. We're in the final stages of developing this right now. It's going to be open source, and we do this on purpose. It's going to be integrated into a foundation so that hopefully many governments, companies, many industries and organizations that we're already talking to will be able to use this. They will be able to use this at no cost. They will be able to use this because we believe that's going to be the massive breakthrough that blockchain actually needs to become agnostic. The benefits would be really great. It would, since the building blocks is a blockchain, it has the stability of a blockchain. It's completely open as a blockchain is. It's completely secure. It has liquidity because it doesn't need liquidity over the entire network. It's okay to have it in certain pools. And because you can work off-chain, similar to what Lightning does on the Bitcoin blockchain, it can settle instant. And that's also something that's really important. Blockchains right now have settlement times because they need certain times to update over this organization. With Comet, this could be instant. So let's look a bit deeper, and let's look how this works. And I, on purpose, am going to keep this a bit more high level. For those of you that are a bit more technical, we wrote a white paper around 2 years ago. You can find this on comet.network, where I included a lot of the technical aspects. I will cover some of those, but I will still keep it quite high level, and then you can dig down into the details if you want in this white paper. There's two options how you can solve such a problem in connecting these different blockchains. The right side, the side we're not using, is that you create another mother blockchain. So you create a token. And these are tokenized solutions. And there's some companies already who are trying to do this. So they're trying to connect blockchains through another blockchain, basically wrapping other blockchains around their blockchains. We personally believe that this is going to be a very easy solution. It's definitely doable. But it's not going to be accepted globally. Because why? Let's ask a different question. Would you use the internet if the internet was controlled by one company that sits somewhere, and whenever you use this, you would have to pay this company, and everyone in the entire world would have to pay the same company? No one would be using this. No one. Because there's way too much power in this one single company building this entire infrastructure. The reason the internet works the way it works, and it's actually not working that efficiently, if you look at it from a technical perspective, it does so, though, because it's open. It's permissionless. In theory, anyone can join this infrastructure. And so if you have a token, if you have one company, in our opinion, this is not going to work. So we need to have, really like the internet, a protocol that can natively connect these blockchains. And we call this the Comet Routing Protocol, CRP, very similar to the TCP IP that connects all these intranets. So how would this look like, and what would be these building blocks? So that it's open source, that it's open, and that anyone can use this. It's actually a cryptographic tool that's not unique. It's just used differently. And you will see this a lot in cryptocurrencies and blockchains. The entire building blocks for blockchain have existed actually for decades. It's just that in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto defined them in a white paper in a new way. And with Comet, we're doing something similar. The building blocks are so-called hashed time lock contracts. And what these three things are is quite simple. The first one is you need to have multi-signature feature. Multi-signature is something that I'm pretty sure most of you know because it also exists in the traditional finance system. It means that in order for something to happen, at least two people need to sign multi-signature. So it can't just be one person. The next thing is that you have a time lock function. And the time lock function means if something doesn't happen for a certain period of time, the status just resets and everyone starts from scratch. And this is really important because, as you will see soon, in a system where you don't have a time lock, actually, and money could get stuck. And the last thing is you need to have hashing functionality. Hashing functionality is something very basic in cryptography. It just works this way. I create a secret, and in cryptography you call the secret S, and I hash this with a mathematical function to create a new string that is not possible to recover the secret without getting the secret. So you need to know the secret to get the hash H. And so with these three functions, I can do the following. So let me explain this to you. I can connect to anyone either on the same blockchain that I am on or on another blockchain. And I open a so-called hashed time lock contract with this person. And these things can be called atomic swaps. These things can be called payment channels if you connect them after each other. But basically what it is the following. So I am here, and I am, let's say, person A, and then on the other side is person B. We open a hashed time lock contract. That means I say, I would love to send you Bitcoin, and you send me Ethereum in return. Great. So we could do this on a traditional exchange. We would have to trust the exchange. Or we open these hashed time lock contracts, which means the first thing is we have a multi-signature function. Multi-signature means we need to agree on something. If we don't agree, nothing happens. First thing. So, for example, I send you 10 Ether, and you give me a Bitcoin. Or I give you a Bitcoin, you send me 10 Ether. And we predefine that. And only if both of us agree to this, actually something happens. The next thing is I attach a secret to my transaction. So I send you a Bitcoin, and I attach a secret. And you do the same thing to your Ether. And we link both secrets cryptographically in a way that if you actually take my Ether, I automatically get your Bitcoin. If you don't take my Ether, I don't get your Bitcoin. It's completely locked. And the last thing is the time function. If first we agree, then we have these secrets, but then something doesn't work, we have a certain time. This can be milliseconds, can be seconds, can be hours, can be days. We can predefine that automatically afterwards, if nothing happens, status resets to how it was before. There's no trust involved. It's a complete cryptographic function. We understand that at the beginning, this will be unfamiliar, just like blockchains. But then over time, people will understand these are actually very basic building blocks that work. I can exchange value from blockchain, not only value, I can also communicate information. There's nothing else than this value. So I can communicate information, identification, anything between blockchains. And then what I can do is I can link these hash time lock contracts after each other. So we have person A communicating to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. This can be all different blockchains. This can be all spread over. And you will actually see very similarities to how the internet works. You will see timeouts that we have on the internet, and that's nothing else than we have here with time locks. You will see liquidity providers that are like hubs to just create a lot of liquidity, and that's very similar to internet service providers, actually. And with such a network, no one actually has to trust each other because there's no cheating possible. If I don't do something, it just doesn't get executed. It's not that I can lose money in this, it's just that it doesn't get executed. Obviously, there's some challenges in this. If there weren't any challenges, someone would have done it already. We think we have solved some of these challenges. One of the major challenges, and you could see this, is actually routing. The question is, why does it choose this route, and why does it not go to the lower hub, or why does it not go up? In the internet, this happens through routing tables, where nodes know these other nodes, and then they try to route this way. This is something that we are considering in this entire network, to have some kind of routing tables. Also, the Lightning Network that mostly routes on the Bitcoin blockchain does something like this as well. But if you start spinning this further, what this actually suddenly means is that illiquid things can become insanely liquid. And as you know, efficient markets need to have good liquidity. With this, we have optimal cost. We have insane speeds. Suddenly, we don't rely on the 10 minutes or 30 minutes of Bitcoin anymore. Suddenly, it can be instant, because people can open these channels, and these channels settle instantly. And at some point, you have all different kinds of functions. You have high speed versus low speed, more security, less security. You have the fees. You can structure that. Another thing this actually would allow to do is, it would allow a country, let's say this is country A, and we are talking, for example, in Singapore, they have a project called Ubin, where they're thinking about these things, where they can onboard users in their own private blockchain. This could also be a bank. This could be any organization. And they set the rules for this private blockchain. And in these rules, it says that the bank only is allowed to connect to the next blockchain, and this could be Bitcoin. So what these blockchains would be able to do is they would not be able to connect private blockchains to these public blockchains, onboard millions of users, exchanging value, exchanging information, helping users, providing customer service, but then still being able to access them in a public way. And this is something where we see a lot of future, and actually a lot of happening in this. Now, you might ask yourself, why are you guys doing this? You're doing this open source. How are you going to make money out of this? Let's first talk about a couple of participants, and these are the liquidity providers. Liquidity providers provide certain liquidity between blockchains. What they will be able to do is charge fees, and similar how the internet charges fees. Now, we believe at the moment, all the fees on exchanges and so on are transaction-based. So depending on the transaction, you pay a fee. We don't believe that's going to be. We actually believe going forward, it's going to be an access-based. So you're not going to pay per dollar that you send. You're actually going to pay for the time you want to use this network. For example, you pay $1 a month, and you have access to the entire financial infrastructure in the entire world. Trading, buying gold, storing gold, buying any kind of stocks, trading any kind of stocks, buying real estate. All these things will cost you nothing for this month because you pay us $1. Because this entire network can easily settle this. And because it is a network just like the internet, we believe that's going to be a very similar thing because all you're exchanging is information. Think about the consequences something like this would have for your business, for other businesses that right now make tons of money on transactions. I just came in from a country today where we had a very important meeting with the bank, and we had a discussion on fees. And I told the bankers and said, what is happening to your transaction fees over the past 10 years? Are they going up or are they going down? I'm telling you, it's a race to the bottom. So if for the past 10 years they went down, what do you think they're going to do for the next 10 years? I'm telling you, 0 is going to be the target. So if you don't change your business model, you're going to have exactly the same problem as all the internet companies did that they didn't adapt. For us at 10x, we are very long-sighted in this idea. For us, what's going to be the power here is similar like the internet today. It's going to be about things like price discovery, SEO, social media, all things that are going to occur in the financial system. We just don't really know yet how, but we believe that over the next years, we're going to figure these things out, and that's going to be something that's very, very exciting in our opinion. And so, summing up, we are obviously looking for people to try this out, for companies to try this out. Our prototype is coming out probably by the end of this month. We expect that by the end of this year, we have all the libraries ready so that companies and people can really build on top of this and making this all public. And hopefully the future is going to be that people don't have to think about how they pay or how they exchange value. It will actually happen in a very, very easy way, maybe through some neural link kind of way in order to communicate. And that is something that is a bit scary, but that's the future. So with this, I want to say thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be outside answering anything. If you want to try out our app, obviously really happy to do so. And yeah, I want to say thank you and have a nice rest of the conference. Thanks.